Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Happy Monday, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Hope you had a great weekend marinating in a Packers victory over the Lions on Thanksgiving. And then, unfortunately, having to watch the Bears win on Friday. But that just sets up a monumental showdown this Sunday at Lambeau Field. And yes, finally, it is Bears week. Look, I got to admit, I love this. I love that the Bears are good and the Packers are ascending, and they have this clash, 2 games within 3 weeks over the course of these next 21 days. Where else would you rather be? It's December, heading into the home stretch of the NFL season, playoff positioning, bragging rights for the offseason. Bears fans are already in rare form online. My goodness. Haven't seen them this emboldened since, I don't know, they won an offseason a couple of years in a row. But man, it's great when these two teams are good. It has been a very rare occurrence over the course of the last 30 years or so. So soak it in. It's going to be great. I'm very much looking forward to, everything that talks about this matchup with a Bears team that is coming off a game where they pounded the football. Old school style. You want to talk about black and blue division? You want to talk about old school football? They had 2 100-yard rushers against the Eagles, a team that the Packers had their own issues trying to run the ball against. The Bears essentially walked up and down the field on them. It was, if you're a pure football fan, like amazing to watch. Now you turn it around and you look at the Packers and their run defense and the way teams have played them. I think it sets up for the Bears to try and probably take the same approach that the Panthers took when they came into Lambeau a couple weeks ago. And some other teams have certainly tried to utilize all right, we're going to play possession ball. We're going to run the football. We're going to limit what we ask Caleb Williams to do. And we're going to stay ahead of the sticks. And we're going to run the ball effectively and efficiently, keep ourselves in third and manageable, fourth and manageable, elongate these drives with conversions, and keep the ball out of Jordan Love's hands. That sure looks like a team that's able to do that if that's what they set their mind to, the way they did out in Philadelphia. Now, I know lots of Packers fans have been kind of wringing their hands about the loss of Devontae Wyatt, and that is certainly a loss, though I suspect that's more of a issue when it comes to rushing the passer than it is stopping the run. I do not doubt for a moment that it is going to be all hands on deck, and there's a lot of guys that are going to have to be involved. Certainly getting Carl Brooks back will help in that regard. I think Colby Wooden's been playing the run very well, and I think he'll continue to do so. Probably get a little bit more or ask a little bit more of Brinson up front, etc. But to me, this is much more about disguise and the approach from Hafley and his secondary and really all 3 levels of the defense. But Evan Williams in particular has been an absolute force against the run over the course of the last 3 or 4 games. There are so many instances where you see them present a shell and get the quarterback to check or can into a play that he thinks, oh, I'm going into a light box, only to find Evan Williams crashing down at the snap of the ball, sometimes arriving even completely untouched and blowing things up in the backfield. But if not that, then helping stop the ball carrier at or just beyond the line of scrimmage. He has been an absolute force in that regard. Now, I do think it's there on tape. If I'm noticing it, Ben Johnson and company are noticing it. You have to suspect that is the game of cat and mouse that is going to be played as far as when to commit to the run and when to try to take a shot, present something down and distance-wise that makes Evan think, okay, I can crash here, and then try and take a shot over the top. Now, that's very easy to say, much tougher to do, but those are the types of things that I think this game is going to be fascinating. We could, just from a pure X's and O's football approach standpoint, really interesting matchups on both sides of the ball, really. Because when you flip it around, Dennis Allen and Matt Laflur have had some real kind of knockdown dragouts over the years. Interestingly enough, the last time these two met, as far as Allen calling defensive plays against Lafleur's offense, was Jordan Love's first game as a starter in Lambeau, where the Saints went out to that 17-0 lead and the Packers couldn't score anything until the fourth quarter. Then they stormed back and won the game. I don't suspect for And like even a second that Allen will mix things up. He's not going to be predominantly one thing or the other. Though I think when he's gone against Matt in the past, he has really tried to utilize some zone blitz concepts. He's done, some kind of trickeration, as it were, at the line of scrimmage, trying to make the quarterback see one thing and bail into something else. Now, he's had the pieces to do so in the past, and he certainly has those pieces in Chicago. He has a secondary that's been incredibly opportunistic. They got guys playing, at a high level. Got Johnson back, their stud corner this past game. So that is a phenomenal matchup to watch as far as what Laflur tries to do, how much he commits to the run. We know Matt wants to run the ball, and how much can he get those safeties biting up and maybe trying to find something downfield with Christian Watson and company. Again, I'm thrilled. I am absolutely thrilled. Remember a couple weeks ago when I said this is the best time of the year? We are in it. You want to talk about the guts of an NFL season. Once you hit Thanksgiving and every game is so precious when it comes to not just the division, but the conference, playoff seeding, and things like that. This is it, man. This is why you fan. This is why I fan. I love this stuff. It's so great. And I love each and every one of you checking in. Hope you're all doing well. Good to see you all. Dennis is here. Of course, Dennis is here. How are you, man? Jim is here. What's up, Jim? How are you? We got Steve-O here, of course. Look at all the regulars chiming in. Before we get to your questions and comments, you guys know, got to give a shout out to our friends over at ThedaCare. Football season is all about action, and sometimes injuries happen. Whether it's a sprain, strain, or something more serious, ThedaCare Orthopedic Care is here to help you recover like a pro. Their team offers expert care for bones, joints, and muscles, so you can get back to doing what you love, on the field or in the stands. Don't let pain sideline you. ThedaCare, proud sponsor of Cheesehead TV. All right, folks, what's going on? What do we got going on? We got B. Marsh right up in here, right off the gate. Winning turnover battles seems like biggest key. I think as far as getting some extra possessions for the Packers offense, I think it's a monster, right? I don't doubt for a moment that the week is going to be spent drilling it into Jordan's head as well as the other guys. This is a game you have to protect the ball. The ball is life. The Bears have been extremely opportunistic, and that is putting it mildly when it comes to taking the football away. They have lived off turnovers, and this is a game where if the Packers can generate just one of their own against Caleb Williams and the offense, give Jordan Love an extra opportunity to go put some points on the board. We've seen it now play out a couple times. You can get that multi-score lead in the second half, make them one-dimensional, especially this passing attack, which has been inconsistent, to say the least. I mean, I'm not telling tales out of school here. Ben Johnson literally at the podium earlier this afternoon saying, we're winning in spite of our passing game, not because of it. That's the coach of the Chicago Bears who said that. If the Packers can get into that mode, if they can get the Bears behind the sticks late in the game, 2-score lead. Now, look, Caleb Williams and the Bears offense have actually been pretty freaking incredible in those instances over the course of this 5-game win streak. Caleb Williams in particular has pulled some rabbits out of his hat. Some real amazing escape plays, keeping his eyes downfield, making plays. But he hasn't seen this Packers front. He hasn't seen Micah Parsons. And I do think there will be opportunities if they get them into that position. Panic Button, really appreciate you becoming a Care the G Club member. Very much appreciate the support. Thank you so much. E4, how are you, man? Bears have, do, and always will suck, but they made the Eagles look old and slow. They really did, man. They really did, especially up front. That offensive line of the Bears, talk about legit. Talk about doing work. I mean, they were paving the way. And look, don't take anything away from the backs. Both of them ran really hard and really well. But yeah, man, that offensive line is legit. And they made the Eagles look pedestrian, especially in the run game. Keith, thank you, sir. Thanks for the super chat. Any chance Van Ness gets kicked inside a defensive tackle? After the Dallas game when Wyatt got hurt, that felt like a turning point for the defense in a bad way. I mean, they've played a lot of football since then. I wouldn't go, chicken little just yet on all of that. And is there a possibility that Van Ness gets kicked inside? Sure, but man, he's got to get right first. Don't forget, he's still dealing with that foot injury. It's kept him very limited. I would suspect you're going to see a lot more of, like I mentioned before, Brinson, and maybe even a lot more Wooden on all three downs, because if Ben Johnson's shown one thing, he's not afraid to run on third to get into fourth and short. So, again, you're not wrong in the sense that when Wyatt went down, the front in particular had some issues. There's no doubt about that. But they've played a lot of football since then. A lot of young guys have gotten a lot of quality reps. I would suspect that that's going to show up on Sunday in Wyatt's absence. Panic button, thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Finally joined the Carry the G Club. Few things. The Bears still suck. The Lions are laughable, and the Vikings are a poverty franchise and always will be. You know what? That was worth the chat right there. Man, I didn't even mention the Vikings because, it's just hilarious. But how fucked are the Vikings? I mean, they spent $1 billion in free agency to basically have a squad that could support this first-time starter, second year in the NFL quarterback, who has flamed out spectacularly to the point where they've had to start their undrafted rookie, who made things look even worse yesterday out there in Seattle. I mean, this is your plan? This is your future? Everyone talks about wasting Aaron Rodgers' prime. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers won a championship. When's Justin Jefferson going to be sniffing a championship anytime soon? Talk about wasting primes. Now, look, the NFL stands for not for long. They could do a bunch of shit this offseason and get turned right around somehow. It's not a very clear path, but it's happened. I'm not saying it's impossible. But if you're a Vikings fan sitting there today looking at your team, how do you have any hope? Right? I mean, it's hilarious, and I'm lapping it up. But, much like I said on Friday about the Lions fans in your life, make sure you hug a Vikings fan sometime soon. They're going to need it. Brian, how are you, man? Thanks for the super chat. Not many QBs make that game-clinching throw. 10 was on one Thursday. Seriously. If you haven't had the chance yet, make sure you watch the QB Schools breakdown. It was excellent. I just watched it this morning. It's been out for a couple days, but I finally got to it this morning. Just excellent stuff. And look, what I love about that channel, what the work that he does is it's not all, roses and sunshine. He points out the flaws and the things that where Jordan needs to be better. But man, the stuff where he's fallen away, that is a rare thing that Jordan is able to do. Like, yes, sometimes it gets him into trouble. It robs him of power. It robs him of some accuracy at times, whatever. But there's also moments like the game-winning clinching throw where he is absolutely doing stuff that 99% of quarterbacks can't do. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He may not be a prototype. He may not be a future Hall of Famer, but Jordan Love is a special quarterback. He is a special player. We are very lucky to have him in Green Bay. Joe, you're probably not wrong, man. Another game of maybe 6 to 8 possessions each. Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. I don't remember what game I was watching, but at some point, one of the color commentators said, this is only so-and-so's 5th possession of the half. I'm like, they got 5 possessions and a half? That feels like a lap of luxury. That feels like a ton of possession when the Packers have been facing these teams that want to take the air out of the game, shorten the game, right? I think the Panthers game, where they have 3 possessions in the first half. Yeah, man, I suspect that's how the Bears want to play this game. Now, look, maybe Ben Johnson tries to fake him out and tries to throw it around the yard with Caleb Williams. I'll be shocked if that occurs. I suspect they're going to come up into this game and run the football a ton and try and do exactly what the Panthers did. But we'll see. So to that point, though, Joe, which I assume you're probably referencing here or alluding to, Packers got to make the most of their possessions, especially early in the game, to try and control the game script, the context, what Ben Johnson's able to lean into play calling wise. Those early possessions are going to be incredibly important for that very reason. Jeff Jones, what's up, man? Shout out to Christian Watson playing lights out. He really is, man. And look, again, there's always stuff to work on. You can look at the tape and look at routes where maybe you'd like him to, even it off a little bit more rather than rounding it off and things like that. Work back to the quarterback, though. I think he's really improved in that regard. But, man, you cannot deny the talent. And you cannot talk about Christian Watson without, if you're a defender, the moment the huddle breaks, where is he? If you're the safety, if you're a safety, on the opposing defense, where's Christian Watson? Because that's their big play waiting to happen each and every down. If he's on the field, he is ready to go the distance. And I'm not just talking about like the deep shot like we saw against Detroit, but hell, we saw it against these Chicago Bears a couple years ago where he takes that end around and he's gone up the left sideline for a TD. It could be at any moment. Now, he is someone they have to account for each and every down. And that's because of the work he's done and continues to do. Again, a special player, no doubt. Krista, what's going on? Watch for me on Sunday. I'll be the loud one in the green and gold. Well, Krista, I'll hold you to that. I'm going to be looking for you and listening for you. Enjoy the game. That's going to be a hell of an atmosphere. Late afternoon, plenty of tailgating before the kickoff. Come on now. That's what I like to hear. Dean, what's going on, man? Thanks for being a Care the G Club member. I know it was only one catch, but it was a hell of a catch by Musgrave. Excited to see what he adds with Reed coming back. Yeah, Matt Laflur was asked about Jaden Reed's potential return. Of course, he's going to be coy and cagey and said they'll give him the week. We'll see if he goes, but as far as Musgrave goes, that was a phenomenal catch. And it really kind of encapsulates what I've been talking about as far as all players have value. And Musgrave still is a talent and can be utilized in a way that brings that talent to the fore. And that play is a perfect example of something that he can and should be doing, working downfield as a receiving threat. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be, a 20, 30-yard gain, but that's a guy who has the athletic ability to threaten anybody on a defense. I don't care who they are, even a cornerback. He's got that ability. I hope they draw up a few more like that. And look, even on that play, I don't even think he's the main read. I'm pretty sure the main read is Watson in the flat, but, Love sees it, likes it, hits it, big gain. You're in the red zone now. Love it. Like more of that, please. Absolutely. The weird kids. What's up, man? Sup, Nags? How great is it to have such high stakes against the inferior club to the south? Looking forward to watching Parsons toss down Caleb. Go, Pack, go. This is, man, I keep saying it, but it's, to me, this is what it's all about as far as getting leads so that you can get after a guy like Caleb. And he has shown he has the ability to get away from even the most athletic pass rushers. So hopefully Parsons gets a few one-on-one opportunities. So those have been few and far between. And yeah, I'm excited to watch him get after Williams in obvious passing situations. Of course, the key will be getting the Bears into obvious passing situations. And that's been what Ben Johnson has done a pretty damn good job of, keeping them out of such things. So yeah, ready for Parsons, ready for Williams, ready for it all. Quinn, thanks for the super chat. Shut down the run like we did against Gibbs after his monster week, put the game in Caleb's hands, and we get the win. I'm glad you brought up Gibbs because I saw a lot of hand wringing prior to the game because Quay Walker was down, because they were down some people, and everyone was, I multiple times people, Gibbs is going to go for 200, etc. And the Packers have now kept him in check both games this season, right? Now, that's a very different style of offense and rushing attack, and Gibbs, don't get it twisted, is a very special player. But a lot of what the Bears did against the Eagles had very precious little to do with straight up subterfuge or design. It had a lot more to do with those guys up front just owning the line of scrimmage. Now, there was still obviously design. There's still ways that they take advantage of eye candy and things like that. But what the Bears did so well against the Eagles was own the line of scrimmage. And it's going to take, to use Matt LaFleur's phrase, it's going to take all 11 every single down to make sure that that doesn't rupture into something, right? Guys being gap sound, very technique driven. Don't do too much. Don't try and overextend, because you get out of your gap, you get washed out. All of a sudden, Swift in particular, he's off to the races. So but the point that you're making is correct, right? Like they can, if they play team defense, limit what the Bears are doing. You're never going to completely shut it down. You're never going to completely stop it, but they can limit it if they play as a group, all 11, every single down. Again, easier said than done. FMCH, what's going on, man? Brosmer makes TJ Rubley look like an all-pro. This poor kid, man. Look, I get he's a Viking, so he's worthy of scorn and derision, but it's a tough situation. Seattle on the road, first NFL action, let alone start, and you're in the game. What was it, 3-0 on that fourth down? Just throw it away, buddy, or throw it into the end zone. Something, anything. I know there's pressure in your face, or even just take the sack. I get it, but man, that play, which obviously turned the whole game, it's tough. And then it was just lights out after that because, again, game script. Now the Seahawks have a multi-score lead, and after that, it was over. Tough world to live in. Texas Packer fan, how are you, man? Golden coming back this week? TBD, man. TBD. Matt was pretty non-committal when asked about it today. We'll see. Wednesday, we'll get our first injury report. We'll see if he's out there at the practice, out at practice and or participating in practice. I'll say this. He looked pretty damn good in warmups on Thursday on Thanksgiving. There was plenty of video from the press box of him running routes pregame. So hopefully he's getting close. But if I remember right, I don't think he was a participant in practice last week or the last 2 weeks. He would have to be at least a limited participant each and every day this week for there to even be a shot of him playing on Sunday. So watch out for the injury reports. Like I said, they start on Wednesday. And if he's a limited participant starting on Wednesday, he's at least got a shot. Mike Witt, how are you, brother? Hey, Nags, it's officially Bears week. Hoping Matt is playing Ben Johnson's first press conference on a loop in the locker room for extra motivation. Well, here's the thing. Ben Johnson didn't take a shot at the Packers. He didn't even take a shot at, the organization as a whole or even a football team. He took a shot directly at Matt Laflur. So I don't know that Matt Lafleur is going to be playing anything for the locker room or for the team or for anybody else other than himself. And he was asked about it today. I think Schneidman asked, if you thought about it, or what, anything. And Matt said, no, not really. I don't buy that for a second, which totally understandable. That is standard operating procedure at the podium for an NFL coach. I don't listen to the noise, etc., blah, blah, blah. But man, this means something. This means something for Lafleur. For a guy like that to call him out unprovoked, unprompted. Apparently they don't have much history together. It's not like they've coached together or been even adversaries outside of their time in Detroit and Green Bay. That's what makes that so random and wild. Like most often when coaches get hired in Chicago, they do talk about beating the Packers. But Ben Johnson didn't talk about that. He talked about beating Matt Lafleur, which instantly makes it personal. And I don't believe for a second that Matt hasn't thought about it, no matter what he says. Now, all that said, you still can only do what you can do as a coach. You got to control what you can control, right? But yeah, there's no way in my estimation that Lafleur isn't or hasn't had this one circled for a while. Mike Witt, thanks again, man. With them using more 6-0 linemen, I'm looking forward to Matt calling a tackle-eligible play action pass near the goal line for a big man TD. Yeah, let's just hope it's a better result than it was there in Detroit a couple years ago when Rodgers threw that moon ball and Hutchinson intercepted it. I'm all in. I love this idea, and I know they have it in their playbook because A, they ran it there, and B, they've used it in training camp before, so we know it's there. So maybe Darian Kennard should be getting his Lambeau Leap ready. Speaking of which, let me talk to the Packers players for a second. Guys, I get it, man. There's a lot going on. You're fighting your ass off to get into the end zone, and when you do, you're celebrating, you're spiking, you're dancing, you're doing your things with your teammates. But guys, you are the Green Bay Packers. This week especially, we need to see some Lambeau Leaps. You realize I think the last Lambeau Leap we saw at Lambeau was from an opposing player? Guys, get in the end zone, turn, and get in the stands. As Robert Brooks so rightfully sang all those years ago, jump in the stands. We need it. This is the time. This is when Leroy first did the Lambeau Leap in December. I get it, man. Like I said, I know there's a lot going on, but it is time for some Lambeau Leaps. Let's go. Steve-O, what's up, man? Very interested to see the first injury report on Wednesday. Man, you ain't lying. Very interested. And there's a lot of things in the air that I would love to see kind of start to play out this week, no doubt. Brockman, what's going on? Saw a great breakdown on Williams' D play this year. Pretty eye-opening and nice to see. Thoughts? I was talking about it earlier, but yes, we talked about him specifically along with Javon Bullard a couple weeks ago on transplants. He has absolutely taken that jump. The jump you always talk about, guys from year 1 to year 2. He is absolutely seeing the field exceptionally. Not just his ability as far as what we talked about earlier in stopping the run, shooting gaps, things like that. But man, his coverage, his rapport with Xavier McKinney pre-snap, disguising things, knowing how to react to motion and who's got what, his tackling, his physicality, it's all improved. Everything right across the board. Evan Williams is turning into a really good NFL football player. And that's the other thing, turning into. He's still not arrived. He's still got tons of growth left. He's still got tons of ability and development, stuff that he hasn't unlocked yet. That's what's exciting. There's still room for him to grow. And that's past what he's doing right now, which is excellent. Really, really good stuff. Sons of Lombardi, what's up, man? Hey, Nags, we're thirsty. Carry the G. Yeah, carry the G. That's a really good idea. Don't mind if I do.
Well, we carry the G wherever we may be, so creamy and cold, and from the land of the green and gold.
The official beer of Cheesehead TV. Mike Witt, how you doing, man? Suddenly, that Panther loss doesn't look too bad. Well, okay, there is no transitive property in the NFL. However, what I do find hilarious is how, well, we're about 24 hours past it, right? I haven't seen Matt Stafford get close to the hell that Jordan Love got for throwing one interception, let alone the two that Stafford threw, along with losing the fumble that essentially gave the game away at the end. Everyone was talking about Matt Stafford, the MVP, a week ago. Now it's like radio silence. You know, they start talking about Jordan Love playing really well, blah, blah, blah. And then he has a, medium, let's say, game against the Panthers. And, he's terrible and threw the game away with that interception. He's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Where's that noise for Stafford? And don't talk to me about, he won a Super Bowl. Oh, yes, he did. As a team, it's not a quarterback award. It's not a quarterback win. And the only reason they're in that Super Bowl is because a 49er safety dropped the ball on what should have been an interception for the 49ers to go to that Super Bowl. Don't ever forget, Matt Stafford is still Matt Stafford and will always Matt Stafford when you least need him to Matt Stafford. That's just the rules. I don't make them. But it is interesting, isn't it? The different lenses. Very interesting. I just need some sleep. What's going on, man? Tell me about it. Afternoon, Nags. How similar are the narratives about Love being turnover prone and not trustworthy to the narratives about Favre back in the day? Oh, not even close. As far as they certainly were prevalent around Brett, way more so than they have been around Jordan. And I understand there is still a very loud subsection, probably minority of the fan base that talks about Jordan being, quote, turnover prone or, careless with the football or whatever. Man, it's not close. I don't know if people, probably if you're asking, you probably don't remember. Man, Mark Brunell was a very popular backup quarterback in Green Bay when Brett was going through all these struggles. And Mike Holmgren almost put Brunell in, almost yanked Favre for Brunell. Brett it was hard, man. It was rough. Now, by this point, his third year as a starter, some of that had been ironed out. Nowhere near as much as Jordan's, though. Not even close. There was still, boneheaded throws every other week. Then I know there are throws that were Jordan, you're like, oh, okay, what's that? Maybe that's a little off, what have you. But what has he thrown? 3 picks this whole year? Brett was still throwing picks, man. He was still throwing turnover-worthy plays, were abundant still. And it frustrated the hell out of you as a Packers fan. The beginning of Brett's career and at the end of Brett's career, even when he was winning MVPs, but not so much then. But those two parts, man, when the camera panned, you just held your breath. You didn't know. You always clenched up. You didn't know. Could be going to your guy. Could be going to their guy. Never really knew. With Jordan, I'm not there. I'm not clenching. I'm pretty confident that he's going to hit our guy, right? Now, it's never going to be Aaron Rodgers. With Aaron Rodgers, it was like a celestial event if you threw it to the other guy, more often than not, because it just never happened, right? But Jordan's gotten to a point where, yeah, I feel really confident when he's letting it rip. With Brett, especially early, you never felt confident. You're always pretty sure it was going. There was a good chance the other team would at least have a chance at it. Now, he still had amazing plays while doing that. There's the very, I won't say famous, but there's a great one where he threw into Don Beebe against the Bengals in the end zone at Lambeau. I think it's like through 3 defenders. It's the most insane, don't ever try this at home throws you'll ever see, but it was awesome. It's kind of like Love throwing to Tucker Kraft last year against the Texans, although probably more so, right? So, yeah, as much as there is this, again, somewhat vocal minority of fans still now with Jordan talking about, oh, he's careless or he's turnover prone or whatever you want to say, it's not, I don't think, close to what we were going through with Brett early on, because for every amazing, incredible throw or play or underhand toss, whatever, there was still a lot of boneheaded stuff going on, And it's like, look, it was part of his path. It made him who he was. It made us all excited for every game, every single moment. But yeah, he certainly wasn't, the tamed version of what we've kind of seen Jordan start to become this year. What else we got here, folks? Jimmy, what's going on, man? Was this finally Matt Lafleur's come to Jesus moment? I guess it depends on your Jesus. I don't know, man. I think he's done a really good job these last 3 weeks of utilizing his weapons the way he should against the opponent and the defense that he's been presented with. People were, maybe you were one of them, upset with his approach against the Vikings. I thought it made a ton of sense, and it was the correct approach against a team that wanted to blitz the hell out of his quarterback, especially once he got a 2-score lead. Shut her down, run the ball, get the hell out of there. Fine with it. Now, maybe your Jesus wants him to throw it 50 times. I think that's a recipe for disaster. I don't mind letting Jordan Love loose a little bit, but there's a reason he leans into the running game, because it helps his quarterback. Now, like I said, I think over the course of the last 3 weeks, it kind of really started in New York. He's done a nice job of mixing things up and keeping defenses off balance. And there's still instances, yes, where there may be some frustrating calls, maybe some 3rd and 1s that we're not fans of. But for the most part, I think his approach has been really good since the Eagles game. The Eagles game was certainly a low point. But since then, I think he's really gotten a good handle on his team, on his offense. And they've gotten, I think, better each week. That's just me. Simatovic, what's going on, brother? I hate all ties. Missed opportunity. Yeah, time to beat these fools from Chicago. What Packers game do you wish you could have done a watch party for? I don't know. It's a good question, man. Probably the one that we're on the anniversary of today. The snow game against the Buccaneers in Lambeau, where the Packers won 21-0. At the time, I was sat cross-legged on the floor in front of my father. But, yeah, that would have been a great watch party game. That game was hilarious. It was just hilarious, and I know there's so many football folks who are, they should play in the dome because it has to be perfect all the time. Part of the fun of the game is overcoming obstacles and finding out who can dig deep and work around whatever the obstacles presented to them are, whether it's a really significant, talented defensive front or Mother Nature and the elements. You're both playing in it. You both have to try and execute, right? That game was awesome. I love that football game. Mike Witt, what's going on? Honest opinion, think 11 is back this week? I'm still going to guess no. And that's all it is a guess. They have until the Thursday prior to the Denver game to activate him for the 21 days. And I suspect they'll take all 21 days. Just guesswork. We could get to Saturday and maybe he gets activated. Entirely possible, but like I said, we'll see. Now, maybe he balls out at practice this week and they think, okay, yep, he's ready. And there's no setbacks. And the medical people are like, yeah, he's good to go. And they turn him loose. That's possible too. But if I had to guess, and again, that's all it is, 1 more week. Mike Witt. Imagine doing a watch party for the instant replay game. But we'll have to have Don on sometime to talk about it. Absolutely. That is a lot of fun. That game, the game itself is a little herky jerky, a little tough to watch at times, but the ending, chef's kiss. All right, folks, gonna have to get going. Can't thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Please do me a monster favor, hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.